You are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 60, a bevy of leggy podcasters.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, the show celebrating 25 years of Savage Dragon. I am Jim Purcell, and I'm joined by co-hosts Craig Olson and Raven Perez. This episode, we bring you an exciting new interview with the one and only Eric Larson about 25 years of Savage Dragon and Savage Dragon issue 225.
All right, so I just want to jump in real quick before we get into what we all want to talk about, Savage Dragon 225. I do want to talk about what happened last month, which was Eric finally got his very own Marvel Omnibus, which cements you into the Hall of Fame of Marvel.
Oh boy!
but no, honestly,
and they didn't send me one.
And they didn't send you one.
But this was something that a lot of your fans have been waiting for a long time, and I didn't even know that it was coming out until like a month before it was actually available. And I think a lot of people actually, I know on the boards, were surprised that it was out. But it's a huge omnibus, and it's pretty awesome. I think it covers everything you've done at Marvel, right? I mean,
it's just all Spider-Man stuff.
I think it's all Spider-Man. I don't think it has...
all your art, though,
it's
right?
everything Spider-Man.
I think it has his Thor and Wolverine issues. I do not think are in it.
That's right. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so your complete Amazing Spider-Man run, plus your adjective-less Spider-Man. I think your Marvel Comics Presents is in there, okay. and then your Amazing Spider-Mans from like 2000, the few that you did.
Yeah.
So it turns out that that X-Men crossover issue with Spider-Man was actually my first Eric Larson comic book. I had forgotten I'd actually had that when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was you, but I finally realized.
Wow.
So you haven't had a chance to look at this at all, have you?
I signed a bunch of them in Heroes World.
Okay.
So that's Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Was that like
comic book convention?
Yeah,
kind of deal. So
people are lugging them around to sign. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. People, those are huge, throw out your back kind of books.
Yeah.
Are they like a good 3 or 4 inches thick?
They're something like that.
Like those Kirby omnibuses, or those things are huge.
Yeah, I mean they seem to vary in length. There doesn't seem to be any standard deal. They're dimension wise, I believe all their omnibuses are the same height width kind of.
Yeah.
It's about 40 plus issues worth of comics in it, if you can imagine that.
Yeah,
it's
at what
awesome.
point do those become so unwieldy that they're completely unreadable?
Well, one those big must have stitched spines at least, so they can lay open.
Yeah, but I mean, how do most people read? I'm wondering.
On the toilet.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there on the growler, that's going to just you're going to lose all feeling in your legs in like short order.
I got to tell you, I bought that king size Kirby collection, which is goddamn insanely huge. I got to lay on the ground.
Yeah, there's no good way. There's no good way. I mean,
it's horrible, but I had to buy it.
If you put it on your desk, you have to sit on another book in order to be high enough away from it that it doesn't distort everything.
It is horrible.
What is that, like comic page sized?
No, it's pretty
like original
big.
art size.
Almost original art size, I would think. Yeah, I got it too, just for the novelty of it. But it's one of those like I'm never gonna sit down and read this book.
No, but it looks damn cool.
Yeah, it's cool for sure.
But yeah, just to follow up on that, I don't want to spend too much time on Spider-Man, but it is cool that we finally got an omnibus. It's been a lot of years in the waiting. I think, I was running the numbers, and it was the stories are about 27 years old now. Does that sound right?
Like
you started about 1990, right? So,
I mean, the first one is issue 287, so that one's probably earlier.
Even older.
That one's probably quite a bit earlier than that.
But
and then the last one, I think, is around 2000. I don't know.
The thing that blew my mind though is like, the beginning of your like full AMS run was about the 1990. I want to say 89, 90,
Mm-hmm.
and that was about, so that's 27 years ago, and then at that time that was about 27 years after Spider-Man #1, which is amazing to me that 27 years now looking back doesn't look like that much time.
Yeah.
But then when it's like
no,
that was
at the
as long as
time I was
Spider-Man
like,
was around.
I was like, oh, I'm the first penciler on this book who is actually younger than the character.
It's crazy.
The character pre-existed.
It's just amazing. It really is. But a great collection. Did you ever, when you were doing the book, did you have a feeling that was going to be something special? I mean, nowadays, I think it's fair to say people consider you as one of the iconic Spider-Man artists, and your run is one of the iconic runs. Did you know or have a feeling it was special?
No. In all honesty, I mean, it was kind of, it was never a book that I aspired to do or set out to do. It was like, I mean, I was always much more of a Kirby guy than a Ditko guy. So it was just a stretch to go, hey, you're going to draw this skinny dude jumping around, getting into crazy poses.
So was it just kind of an assignment at the time, or was Spider-Man a big deal at the time?
Well, it was a big deal. It was a good gig. I knew that it was a good job. I knew Todd was a popular guy on the book, and so I was kind of stepping into some choppy water here, trying to keep up with what was going on with the character and keep that ball going.
Yeah, at the time,
yikes.
You were doing Punisher, right?
I did Punisher, and I had left Punisher because I just was not having a good time doing that book. So I didn't really have a gig. I kind of left Punisher because I had gotten the green light to do Nova in Marvel Comics Presents. Mm-hmm. So I was going to be writing and drawing a Nova story, and it was like, oh boy, I get to write and I get to draw, and it's been approved, and I got this be able to be the guy to revive this character, and this is going to be awesome. And then after it was approved, then they said, oh, actually, we can't do that. He's being revived in New Warriors, and so your story won't work. So stop working on that. And at that point, I was unemployed. But they were like, well, we've got this Excalibur serial that we need a warm body on. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll do that, because I had nothing else.
Right.
I'd quit my gig so that I could do Nova, and then it just sort of one thing led to another. They needed a guy on Spider-Man.
Those darn editors.
Todd knew me and recommended me for the gig, I guess.
Which is that was a flagship title there. So to have like a newer guy kind of. Yeah. I know you've done Punisher and you were known for Punisher.
Yeah,
but
it was a stretch on somebody's part, but I guess the stuff that I was doing on Marvel Comic Presents was a little more in the vein of what Todd was doing on Spider-Man. It was my natural kind of drawing style is more cartoony, for lack of a better word, than what I was doing on the Punisher. So I think while you might not have looked at the Punisher and gone, oh, this is the guy for Spider-Man, I think looking at what I was doing on the Excalibur thing, you could kind of go, oh no, this guy, he could do that kind of stuff.
Which you actually had like Warner Brother type cartoons, in that serial.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was a decent enough fit in order to do that.
Yeah. Did the Spider-Man Wolverine team up? Did that happen before your Amazing Spider-Man run?
Oh no, that was after.
Okay,
that was actually during. That was during.
Okay.
So it was at the same time that I was doing the book. So
I thought that was maybe like a tryout or something, but I guess it was.
Nope. I did a fill-in fairly early on. Before Todd had come on the book, I had done a fill-in issue, and that was as much of a tryout as there was, really.
I mean, your Spider-Man, a lot of it had that Ditko feel, the creepy crawly feel, even the coloring kind of in places, and even putting the webs under his arms. Did you kind of go back and go through all the Ditko issues and push for that feel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had all that stuff out, and I was looking at all those comics, and had that firmly in mind. This is the look we're going for here.
I think there was even some flashbacks where you kind of like drew Uncle Ben like almost exactly like Ditko.
Yeah, I was really trying. Cool. And Randy Emberlin, who was inking me towards the end, kind of emphasized that kind of Ditko-iness, and I think he did a decent job of kind of giving it that kind of a line.
Nice. Okay, well, let's not take up any more of your time about Spider-Man. We're pretty excited about the Omnibus, but more excited about the new issue of Savage Dragon, which is mind-blowing.
Which I'm guessing some of the guys actually have copies of. I don't know if anybody there has physical copies.
Not just yet
in their hand, but
still waiting.
Nor do I. But Frank Fosco got his
we saw
today.
That.
So it's like, son of a bitch.
Though it didn't look like he got a copy of the Triple X.
By request, he did not get it. I pretty much asked people because I could decide how many copies of which issue everybody got. And so there were a couple people I knew, this guy's not going to want this in his house. So
I think Raven would probably just be happy.
Raven's like, just those. That's all I want. Bring them.
To me, only dirty covers. That's cool. Talking about giving them to my friends,
Since we're talking about it already, let's go further into this. And just, can you tell us a little bit how that came about and what that decision was based on? I mean, you feel like you were looking...
This decision was not based on anything rational whatsoever. It's just me being the usual knucklehead-headed self. Geez, what is a good... it would be nice to have a really cool origin story that went along with that, but it was basically just the awareness of this guy's work, and I was just like, I know he did a
backup.
He did a backup like a million years ago, and I was not even aware that it was the same dude because I had run.
I wasn't either. I went back and looked after you.
Yeah, I'd run across his stuff online, and I was like, yeah, this guy just draws some sexy ass shit. And it was just like, I'm constantly on the lookout for cool artwork of varying kinds, and whatever I can find, I'm always on the lookout for different people's stuff and what are other people bringing to the page and how are they doing it, and just trying to keep current in a lot of ways. Because it's real easy for people to just go, I'm just going to do the same thing I've always done the same way, and then pretty soon, the rest of the world notices, hey, it's not the 80s anymore. What's up with all the big hair and shoulder pads?
Timeless.
And so rather than become one of those guys, I'm always just like, all right, well, what are people doing? And somehow I had stumbled across this guy's stuff. I was like, yeah, this guy does just awesome awesome stuff. So
Just somehow stumbled across it.
yeah, but I was like, I just want to get him to do like a cover. I had become aware that some of the other Image guys were doing these alternate covers that were like, hey, these is not safe for work and that sort of thing. And then I looked up like, well, what do these things look like? And I looked up online and I was like, they're just like kind of pretty tame, pretty kind of tepid parodies of stuff and it was also sort of the thing where I was like, I'm not in on the joke here. So I know this is probably a parody of something, but since I don't know what the thing is, it's sort of like, somebody giving you just the punchline to a joke, but not the actual setup of the joke. Right. And it was like, I don't like that. And also I was like, I want to do like a real not safe for work cover. And kind of this is my own inner child here, but part of what I do is just, well, this will entertain me. So I'm going to do this because I'm going to be entertained. And somehow the idea of one of the people who I always get the not safe for work comics from Image. I'm going to get this one. I'll bet this one is a hilarious parody as well. And just the idea of somebody opening this up and just doing a spit take as they see what it actually looks like,
in the bag,
going, "Oh my God, Jesus!" Like this is legitimately not safe for work.
Hey, I just want for the reader, because we didn't mention his name, but the artist is Raphael Crass. I think that's how you say it.
AKA Crash Zone with a K.
Yeah.
And he did the backup. It was a Dart backup.
In 120. It has Dart and Hard.
So if anyone wants to look it up.
And it's very different because that was a long time ago.
Well, he did the pencils, and then Raphael Albuquerque did inks, and he's gone on to do quite a lot of major kind of DC work, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, they both have grown by leaps and bounds, and it's like, geez, both of them early on, they were solid enough. You could look at their work and go, oh, okay, there's potential there. It's kind of reminding me of the early Dale Keown stuff, where you could kind of go, oh, okay, I can see that there's something there. It's not quite there yet, but I can see that there's a potential.
I definitely see that now that you say that.
And then, and it's like with a lot of guys, real early stuff, like super early John Byrne doing backups in E-Man. You're just like, there's something like, I'll bet that someday this guy's going to be okay. And, and sometimes they do develop in this weird, cool way. Some guys just get stuck and they never break out of whatever it is they're doing. They never get anywhere. And then some guys, it's like, no, that's as good as I'm going to get, or just get worse. Like, I'm sorry, I peaked early, and that's all there is. It's like, oh, okay.
And the funny thing is, you never know. Like when this cover came out, I was like, which way is this going to go? Either people are going to freak out, and I didn't think people really freaked out as much as I
it's
kind
not
of expected.
out yet.
Yeah, it's not out yet.
Yeah,
it's not out.
But even with the news stories,
we got that censored preview, which I'm surprised you actually did. I actually thought you'd keep it completely under wraps.
Yeah, well, I censored it. I was the censor involved there.
Yeah,
the Jimmy John. What was it? The Jimmy John?
No, it wasn't that. It was that was
somewhat. Was that?
That was
else?
my parody.
That was his parody. Yeah.
Because they look like Jimmy John's logos, so
that is actually from an old Mad magazine thing from back in the day. As they did a sort of the movie version versus the book version of something. Whenever they would show how things were in the book version, they were cleaned up by having these censored stamps all over everything. So I was like, oh, that's a cool censored stamp. I'm going to use their censored stamp.
But it did get the most reorders, right, for the month?
That's what they tell me. I don't know what the final number is on anything. So
yeah, because you solicited it late, so it had to go in with the reorder. So it wasn't even in the actual previews.
Yeah,
it was something
wasn't.
you.
Well, initially it wasn't even going to be for this issue.
Right.
I was surprised that it was.
Yeah, it was initially. I had put it in with issue. I think 228.
Yeah, that sounds more.
More
likely.
I just figured when it gets done, I'll solicit it rather than solicit it early on something. So I knew it was going to happen, but until it was real, I didn't want to solicit it.
Well, apparently the news got out, so because you definitely have topped the reorder chart, so that's actually pretty good considering it was all word of mouth.
Yeah.
I would say it's funny to know that you were the censor because the two things when I shared the censored preview on my wall, it really killed people not knowing what was down in the lower right hand corner. They were like, "What in the hell is right there? What is that spot?" And the other thing that killed people, or didn't kill people, but people were saying is a lot of people thought the lamp looked like a dick, and I was like, what? I looked at it. I was like, oh, I see it, but you guys are perverts.
Well,
that's a stretch.
Yeah.
Have you shared the cover with any other pros or anything? You got any feedback from any other guys? Or
no. Trying to think if there's anybody who I shared it with. I mean, people in the Image office certainly
What was
saw
their
it.
reaction when you told Eric Stevenson and showed him what you were coming
Well,
out with?
mostly it was, what are you trying to do?
You're trying to give him a headache as damage control?
What is this?
Hasn't he gone through enough in the past couple of months?
Well, it's like, where are you taking this? What is your ultimate goal here? I don't understand what you're doing with the book. I don't understand what's going on in any conceivable way. None of this makes sense. And I don't really have a good answer for him, so I just kind of, grinned and went back to work or whatever. It's like, what can I tell you, man?
What's hilarious is that my mom is super hot to get this issue because of the backup. And so she's like, I'm going to make sure that that's the cover I give her.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, here you go, Mom. Check it out.
Here you go, Mom. Look at me. I made it big.
I did it, Ma. I did it. I'm in it. She'll like it. She's cool.
So let's talk about the issue, shall we?
Oh, my God. This issue is...
Oh, so we haven't talked to you for about maybe a half a year or so, I think, right? I think the last time we talked...
I can't actually recall if it was 200 or...
No. What?
I can look it up.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. Anyway, so a lot's happened. A lot of crazy. This story arc itself, we've been losing our mind over. It's been great. Keep wondering when Dark Lord's going to show up. He's finally done it.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously we're going to have spoilers. But the big deal. Let's just cut to the chase. Looks like we're saying goodbye to our main character. Well, no, he hasn't been a main character in a while, but
yeah,
for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, I know. For a lot of people,
I'm gonna miss Dark Lord.
It's been like, well, when is he coming back? When is he going to give him his powers? What's going on with this?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm still not convinced he's dead because I feel like every 50 issues you kill him off, and I'm like, how is he gonna?
Yeah, well, I'm doing the funeral, of course, in the next issue. And,
nice.
And everybody at the funeral is like, this is our third dragon funeral. Come on.
We're gonna have some cameos.
Well, they're not cameos that I don't own.
Okay.
Cameos.
No more flaming carrot or.
No, not doing anything like that. It's not. It's like, oh, I gotta make phone calls now.
I instantly told Craig. I was like, Craig. I was like, oh my God, dude, can you believe it? And Craig's instant response was, he's come back from worse.
Yeah, the thing is like I could undo this in 30 seconds if I needed to. It's like,
Yeah. But that's superhero comics for you.
yeah, but
You
that
have
is-
the power. You
That's
don't need
other
it.
people's comics.
Yeah,
for
there
you,
you go.
know. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy.
Nice.
And the thing is, I can always, you know, if I'm sitting here going, oh, I have this great idea for a dragon story, I could always set it back in time.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
just be like, all right, we'll do this, you know, story of dragon when he's off gallivanting around having adventures with Malcolm that we have never seen before.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to beat around the bush. I'm going to be straightforward. I'm glad he's dead.
Jim has been the Jim Reaper as far as Old Man Dragon is
I
concerned.
can't agree with that. I
I
mean,
think he's been stealing Malcolm's thunder for way too long. And he literally stole his thunder this issue.
Yeah.
I think it's good for the book, but I'm sad to see the character go. You know, it's a crazy thing where I've been reading Dragon since, you know, probably 13 maybe years old. So it's just weird that, all right, this character is done now and we're moving on. It's you don't see that in comics, and
No.
and you don't see the, you know, I don't have any other comic that I've stuck with as long as Dragon. So it was cool though. Did you take a while to kind of get yourself to kill him off this issue, or was that the plan ahead? Did you think you were going to get cold feet?
It was
or?
the plan. It was the plan. I mean, at one point I was thinking, well, I should just have him be, you know, dragon with powers for a couple issues, because people might expect that he's going to die in this anniversary issue. But if I have him make it through it and he's fine, then people wouldn't expect, well, there he is, 228. Fuck, now he's dead. You know, that sort of thing.
Well, you definitely got me going after, you know, he was like, all right, get me to the hospital. We'll fix this all up. I'm like, all right, cool. It's all going to be good. And then you turn the page and you're like, what?
I know, dude. I know. I fell for a hook, line, and sinker.
The shoe and a puddle of blood. God damn it.
Yeah.
But I really I really did laugh out loud when I saw the page with, you know, the you know, bevy of leggy supermodels, which, you know, I mean, I think every longtime Savage Dragon fan, you know, knows that line from issue 32, and we all kind of knew that was going to be the final Dragon panel.
Well,
we knew that was going to happen.
too that it's like, okay, this is a real death now, not a
Right.
Yeah.
Because you see that. I'm slightly confused, though, because I thought God told him that being an atheist, he'd get oblivion.
No, he said if you remain an atheist, but if you believe that you'll spend eternity.
Yeah, Dragon says, so if I believe that afterlife is a bevy and leggy supermodel, I'll have that. And God's like, you sure will.
So Dragon's a true believer. Okay.
It's like,
now it
all
makes
right,
sense.
I'll put that into the pipeline.
It really did make it feel more real and final. Like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, shit. It's real.
I'm not going to lie. I thought he might be thrown as like a curveball, and you find out like one of the gods saved him, and he's like in Godland. And I was like, I turned the page, I was like, nope, it's real.
There you are. Sorry, kids.
It's fantastic, though. How did you feel after that? Did you get a little emotional, or
Nothing.
No.
I was just blubbering. I really had felt like it was due. It was due. I kind of felt like whenever he showed up, he would steal the scene, and it was like,
And he would,
just have this guy show up and steal the scene all the time.
See, my thing is, I just didn't like seeing him skinny anymore. I was like, I either want him back full size, or I'd rather just not see him around, because he's just too weak and wimpy.
He looks weird. It
Yeah.
didn't look. He looked fucked up when he was skinny. It's just,
Yeah.
that's not cool. No one wants to see that.
We had a FinCast conversation where I was like, man, you know, if he's going to be like sticking around as an advisor, that's cool. I said, but guys, do you really want to see like Old Man Dragon getting all feeble and like shitting himself and like weak? I was like,
Yes,
ugh.
absolutely.
No.
It's all I ever dreamed of.
I was like, nah, hero's death every day, any day, every day.
The other,
Give him Alzheimer's. Make him forget who he is.
Awful.
Well, the thing
Awful.
is, he's pretty much my age, so if he's going to be getting Alzheimer's, that's good. That's like, what the hell, man? I mean, it's not that old.
I think one thing we all got a kick out of was how all the kind of realities merged, and we actually got to see Paul Dragon on a panel, and then to see Jennifer refer to him as Paul for like the rest of the series was pretty fucking funny. And it's pretty cool. It kind of closes that circle. It's like where his beginnings to his end. It's like it all ties it up.
Yeah.
Were you like,
there's
God damn, this will
a
work?
lot of stuff I wanted to be like, yeah, let me do that. And then I've got the first, the graphic fantasy thing in there. But
Yeah.
the only problem with that story is nobody calls him Paul in that at all.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just referred to as Dragon.
Yeah.
So
Well, they called Jennifer Sue, right? That's her name, right?
yeah, her name was Susan Wilson in the earlier stuff. So now I've got Wilson as her maiden name. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe you're
I don't
right.
know if I had her as Susan as a middle name or not. I don't even remember.
But her mother was Miss Wilson in the nursing home when they.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this Dark Lord the same hoodie Dark Lord, kind of older now? Or is
I'm
it...
assuming that it is. Yeah. Because otherwise, what the hell is he doing there? But
Right. I didn't
you
know if he
know,
was from
whatever.
another dimension. Yeah.
He's so mad.
Yeah, it's just
So
like,
angry at Glum.
God damn it!
He
We're
fucked all his
fucking
shit
things up. Let's just start over. Let's just get rid of you. Start over. Because I mean, he has all the raw material. If he can know how to put together a time machine, I can just go back into time and just keep fucking with things and recreate every goddamn one of those Earths. It's going to be a hassle, but I can do it. And fuck you.
So everyone's kind of memories now are all merged. You think that's going to make your life easier or more difficult?
I'm expecting it'll be both to a degree, because there's also weird stuff where I mean, most of the stuff that I'm showing, like, hey, this is the different versions,
Mm-hmm.
aren't versions that we've seen before. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're sitting there going, oh, there's all this stuff that we're being reacquainted with.
Right.
It was part of it was just I wanted to be able to do some Freak Force stuff and not have to have them
Not remember past.
not remembering that they were part of that team and not
Gotcha.
remembering what the hell that was all about.
That does help there, because they're
I think
otherwise it's just Dragon's book telling them what it was like.
Yeah, and it's like that's not okay. I mean, and that one backup that Mark Englert drew
Yeah.
all those years ago.
I shared the interview you did with Russ Burlingame where you were talking about everything mattering,
Mm-hmm.
and that being a workaround to it, and like a non-dragon reader was like, holy shit, that works. So I think it makes sense even to like people that aren't like plugged into the book. I don't know. It's kind of like a pretty good workaround for it.
Yeah.
Who cares what people who aren't reading the book think?
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
No, the genesis of the idea in the first place was DC doing the New 52 and fumbling the ball so brilliantly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
was
was
it was
bad.
like, well, how could you do it so that the readers who were reading it back in the
You
day
don't piss them
still
off.
felt connected in some way?
Yeah.
And if it's like, well, if these characters had some memory of stuff, if it mattered to them in some way,
Right.
where they could just be able to go, yeah, I remember, we used to fuck like crazy, whatever.
Well, one of the things we went apeshit about was in 224 when we finally got the scene between Jennifer and Angel about what happened with the murder there, which I was always miffed that we never got to see or understand.
Yeah.
We just got the letter, and what was your thought process in showing that? Were you kind of like did you always have that kind of, you wanted to show that scene, or was it just more to keep the story going?
The way it worked out when I was telling the story the first time, there really wasn't a good place to drop that.
Yeah.
There just wasn't a spot for it. So it was like, well, what the hell am I going to do here? Because I can't just have it randomly appear, because it just doesn't make any sense. So it was like, that was kind of the only good place to put it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just an effective kick in the ass at the end of that issue to just go, oh, now she remembers this, and now Angel's sitting there going, Glum.
Right.
Like, holy crap, now what's going on with her?
I think for me, I always felt like I was always kind of annoyed that we didn't see that scene, because I think in comics, I feel like if you don't see something, it doesn't necessarily mean it happened. So it was always like, well, is she still alive, or what's going on? And so to actually see the scene, I don't know. I loved it. I ate that up. It was cool.
I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like another one of those like super long bombs.
Yeah.
Where you'll plant a seed way early on.
Yeah.
Kind of like, Astronaut Suit Malcolm and Wildstar. So it was kind of like, just to finally get to see that scene after all this time, it was like super gratifying.
Oh, cool. I'm glad that worked for somebody. That's awesome.
Super gratifying to see her get shot.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing that sort of gets brought up with this whole merging of realities is that everyone now remembers dying to Kerr.
Yeah.
Right? And that's sort of what's going to like push the book going forward with the whole going to Canada thing in the next couple issues.
Well, what kind of comes about from that and from Dark Lord and everything else is just
Aliens are no
the Donald Trump issue doesn't really have Donald Trump in it much,
right?
But it's pretty much kind of the insanity that comes from every crazy thing he says and does.
Yeah,
right.
So it's sort of like he signs an executive order outlining aliens in the United States.
Right.
And so it's like, and it's outlying extraterrestrials. It's not, and so it's like, well, how many of those are there even? Dragon's dead. Dark Lord's dead.
Yeah, I gotta
admit. There's a few kind of crazy guys running around in Chicago. But
Horridus is half an alien.
Yeah. So it's like, Horridus...
But they don't know that. She could be a
They don't necessarily know that. She was born on Earth to an Earth woman and so she's going to have a birth certificate. So it's like, is she really any different from any other freak for that matter? That's not really necessarily known by all. But Malcolm doesn't have a birth certificate.
That's true.
That's right. He's from an alternate dimension.
Oh, yeah.
He's from an alternate dimension.
He left it behind when it blew up.
So he's not there. And then the people who, are the faithful followers of our great leader, those guys are just looking at it as, hey, this guy's an alien, and he's got these alien kids, and God damn it, he shouldn't be here.
I gotta admit, if I'm from Dragon's Earth and I dealt with Dark Lord and Mr. Glum and what are those aliens that were chasing Vanguard around and the Universal cops, I think I'm all for getting aliens out too.
Yeah, it's like what do you
and I remember all of it.
who are the good ones that we got? Vanguard's not even here right now, and when he was here, he wasn't here. He was up in space all the time.
Well, he didn't do much to help protect from the what's the alien horde that came after?
Yeah, whatever. I don't have that open on my computer, so I can't tell you what they're called.
I'm gonna get yelled at for not knowing that.
Even the Mars attacks, think about that shitstorm.
Yeah. It's like there's really not a lot of good aliens that are sitting there hanging around in the universe as we know it. So it's like, it's a pretty safe thing to just go, we're getting rid of aliens here. Look at us. We're being proactive.
And Jim, you kind of brought up a good point, is that everyone remembers Kerr now. So it was almost like Dragon had to die, because I don't see how he could go on with everyone knowing what they know about Kerr. He wouldn't be an effective good guy, really.
No.
At least that's what I would think, So,
Well, there's also the question of how much do they know?
They remember
Because
melting.
They
that's
remember.
true.
They remember dying.
but they don't know why.
They don't necessarily. How many people are aware that this is the guy responsible for them dying?
Gotcha.
And then it's like, well, do they remember any kind of an afterlife? Do they? I mean, are there the religious folks getting more religious because they're like, I was totally in heaven. It was awesome.
And I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of people committing suicide if there's leggy supermodels all over the place.
Yeah.
And just for the listeners, those aliens are called the Tyrus Combine.
Look at
I
that.
don't want to get
Oh,
old
snap.
Savage Dragon.
Yeah, that
into
was
the rescue.
that's a Gary Carlsonism. That one. That one's not me. So he can come up with all kinds of cool shit. I'm just like, oh, I don't remember. I don't know. It was something.
I think it's an
Yeah,
interesting new status quo potentially. I don't know how much you care to, tap this, because I guess it might be confusing. But when neighbor Craig talks about having all of his crazy dreams, the seed that instantly planted in my brain is I was like, what is the door is open for now is technically you could have people that were relatively normal, but like they remember like being, a villain and they liked it. So they suddenly take a turn or something. I thought you were going there with Craig. I was like, oh shit,
No,
is neighbor Craig going to be evil?
I was going somewhere else with Craig.
I was hoping to see Craig turn into like a Reaver with like a tank bottom half eventually or something, Just keep it going until he's all robot.
Yeah.
He's got one human finger.
Yeah, that was fun.
I was like, oh shit. I was like, neighbor Craig's going to he's remembering being a villain in another world. And then, no, that's not at all what happened.
Not it. Sorry.
Which made it the death funnier. I was like, oh, that's fucking hilarious.
One of the things we were talking about last FINcast was on issue 224, your use of like kind of like the pink glass panels. Is that something new that you came up with, or has that been in another kind of, have you seen that in other comics? I don't ever remember seeing anything like that, and I thought it was a really effective way to show these universes, and I thought it was just a really cool
I had not seen it anywhere, and it just kind of came out of the cover, which was kind of a symbolic thing, and then it was like, I don't have a really good visual way of showing that these are somehow different memories being swapped around, so I'm not quite sure how that came about, but it seemed to work.
Yeah, you have to be pretty happy with it. I think it was super effective. Yeah. I think it gave you all the space to do the regular story while kind of scattering little shards to give us those
little bits and then they remember this, and then she remembers that. It's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, that worked out really well. And then when it was time to do all the flashback stuff, then it was just the nightmare of finding appropriate pieces that fit into the spaces that I'd left for myself.
We were dying about all the Maxine shattered pieces, and she's just like super boring.
Super boring. Yeah, it's just like, oh man.
I made the joke. I was like, poor Maxine. I was like, when she realized, like this is literally the best universe for her.
Yeah, this is it. This is the best you ever had it, kid.
Otherwise, you're just studying all the time.
All the rest of the time.
Everyone else is getting laid.
I'm assuming that she's now walking out of that going, yeah, I remember all that stuff. So she could conceivably, go back to school and test out on a bunch of stuff that she just happens to know.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's like, wow, this is great. I don't have to do any of this studying, and now I'm in law school. Awesome.
And it sounds, we talk about everything kind of coming full circle, and we touched on Freak Force a little bit, but we're super jazzed that Freak Force is back. And we didn't get to talk to you about the kind of one-shot that came out, and now it sounds like there might be another issue or two, maybe? It was a Mighty Man one-shot, but...
Yeah, there was. I mean, we talked about doing some more Freak Force stuff. We'll see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Nikos is up for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, everybody's got to make a living doing this stuff. So
Sure.
it's like,
Right.
if the numbers don't come in where they need to be, then it's like, oh shit.
Just tell me how many copies I need to buy. And we'll get Augie to buy the rest.
Thank God there's at least two of you.
We had some confusion, I think, on the Mighty Man. Was this, where was it? Was it the Mighty Man one or this one?
Was it about
Dart? Remember, we couldn't remember if...
Yeah, Jane August.
So...
You weren't sure. You thought that she was in on the kidnapping as an inside job.
And then the other half of it, we were like, nah, she was just being rescued.
She was just being rescued, and this is how she meets Freak Force.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think she's in on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
That wasn't my plan.
So
that sounds super devious, though.
That
sounds more like something the other Dart would do.
So is the thought that the darts have some kind of superpower? Like super accuracy, or...
Yeah,
because
I guess. I don't know why that would be an inherited ability, but yeah, let's just go with that.
Okay. Low-level telekinesis.
Yeah, something.
And then we have Marsha, and does she have an official superhero name now? Is it Lightning Girl, or...
I call her Lightning Girl in my scripts, but since nobody's ever called her by name, it's given me time to think about it. and I still haven't come up with anything better. So her working one is Lightning Girl for the moment. But if I come up with something that's awesome, then I can just use the awesome one and not call her Lightning Girl.
Nice, yeah.
It's a good time, I think, for it, just because I feel like people are chomping at the bit for like just some like that backup. Mighty Man backup was just like super made me want a Freak Force thing. And then in 225, the panel where they're coming at Dark Lord with all the jets getting blown up above it, that looks like a cover to a book. I was like, man, I would buy the shit out of some Freak Force.
Yeah, well, we also talked about 224. Some of the panels, like the Barbaric, there's a Barbaric panel, and I don't think Barbaric's ever looked more badass than in the panels that you drew. And
even Gavin agreed.
Yeah, we were just super jazzed about like all of the. I keep saying jazz. I'm stealing Raven's terms, but we were just like there was also like a 4-panel page in 224 with like all the members of Freak Force doing their own thing, and I was like, that is probably one of the single coolest pages I've ever seen in this comic. And I was like, if I could own one page, I think that might be the one I would want. It was just amazing. It looks like you're having a lot of fun kind of bringing those guys back, and it's showing through your artwork.
Yeah.
And then just to get another backup with them, it just, I don't know, it brings back a lot of good memories. They're really good characters. They're really well-designed characters. So I'm happy they kind of survived, or at least siblings, or,
yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I've kind of I'm in a weird spot because I realize, Super Patriot's actually got kids of his own at this point, and they're someplace.
And they're already getting past their prime, actually.
And named after his dead kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they're like little kids.
That's true.
And then, and Barbaric and Ricochet presumably have kids somewhere as well.
We had talked about that a little too.
Freak Force Babies spinoff.
We had talked about, isn't Barbaric and Ricochet getting kind of old? But when we looked at it and crunched the numbers, they're still in, I think, mid-30s or mid to late 30s, which really isn't that old. It's still
They debuted young was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even so, that was 24 years ago.
Yeah.
And Ricochet was
like 17.
Yeah.
Because there was a whole plot point about her being a minor.
Yeah, she was a minor, so I'm not 100% sure on. Oh, I could look it up.
I know we looked it up and it still worked. Like, it was like, oh, they're not that old yet. Like, they could totally be on a team. And of course, Super Patriot can be as old as he wants, and Hortus is an alien, so who knows? Like,
yeah, well, but even so, like, she's got a kid of her own.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, Jesus.
Time to kill some kids.
Time to kill some kids.
I'm still
Yeah,
waiting to
well,
see
we got-
what's up with
we got
that
4 of
messed
them,
up
right?
Johnson twin.
You and your Johnson twins.
You and your God. The problem with putting in some just stupid shit that I did when I was a kid is that people keep going, I'll bet this means something, and it really didn't. It's like, oh man, now I feel like there's pressure, like this has got to matter, and it's like, God damn it,
When are you
it really
gonna
doesn't.
debut Zeke's old school suit with his little helmet and
Yeah, right. It's like, here he is.
Thor's got a kid too,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and he's blind.
with
Still,
little
right?
orphan Annie.
Yeah, little orphan Annie and Thor. That's right.
Yeah, that kid's got to be somewhat old already, huh? Jesus, man, this real time thing, just crazy.
There's just not enough time.
Well, I just, it's like looking around at my own kids who didn't exist when
Yeah.
this book started, and it's like, geez, one of them's going to be 23 in August, and then the other one's 20. It's like,
Yeah.
holy shit, what happened?
Yeah.
It's like my goddamn niece just had a baby last week. And I was like, I remember when you were a baby. I hate this.
Yeah.
Like, why is time flying so quick?
Yeah. I was, like I said, 12 or 13 when Dragon first came out, and 40 now.
Yeah, so
I mean, maybe I was 14, 15, actually. I don't know, but
So Ricochet just turned 38 then, huh? According to the
yeah.
yikes.
She still holds up. It's all good.
Yeah,
She's got goggles to hide the crow's feet.
She bounces. She's made of rubber.
looking good, lady. So,
I guess the real thing is Glum got away. I thought for
Yeah.
sure he was a goner.
Yeah. That little
be honest.
bastard.
The suddenness and unexplained nature of his quote-unquote death made me wonder if there was something else going on, though, because he just got zapped.
Oh, I knew. That one didn't get past me.
But I do wonder if this is the last time we've seen Glum, at least for a long while, because it feels like an ending.
yeah, it'll be a little bit at least.
Feels like an ending, yeah. I'll agree with that.
I mean, he could never return, and I think it'd be satisfying,
Yeah.
just because it just
Either
feels
way,
like his
I
story
don't
is
care.
over.
I love to see old characters, but
Sure. He can come back and harass Malcolm's kids.
Well, or we could just every now and then show a scene of meanwhile in Dimension X.
Yeah.
Here's
It's getting creepier.
here's Mr. Glum teaching her how to read, or whatever.
So evil, so creepy.
Yeah.
we got a ton of, besides Freak Force, we had a ton of other backups, which I really
Oh,
enjoyed.
yeah.
I know, I think you showed the one, I'd seen the one previously, maybe on Facebook or something, by Derek Hunter.
Oh, you've seen the whole thing?
I think it was posted somewhere before it hit the
Yeah, he put it on Twitter, I think.
which is a fun comic. It
Yeah,
It's
it
good
was a
stuff.
fun thing. It was loaded with typos.
Did you fix it, or did it
Oh,
come?
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I went through there and I went through this thing with a fine tooth comb, trying to get as much of it as I could. I'm sure there's inevitably something that creeps in, but
It kind of reads like a Twisted Funnies. It's just kind
Yeah,
of
and
weird
that's-
little...
and that's fine.
I like how he keeps calling that dude Axel Alex. It's Axel, whatever.
Whatever.
It's all good.
And
Yeah, no, that was a fun one. That was one of the few things in the book that I didn't write.
in the Flash Mercury too, that which kind of looked like a Jimmy Corrigan type comic, which is kind of neat. I like that.
Yeah, that's Joe Keating did that. And
Yeah,
he's done a few of those before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen these catching up with Flash Mercury strips
Yeah.
before. I
Yeah.
can't remember where though.
I
In
think
Dragon, but
200.
Yeah,
I think 200. I don't know.
I hope that relationship with Ricochet is canon though. It'd be kind of just fun to have them be best friends for random, just
For
inexplicably.
no reason at all. Yeah.
and then hooking
It's
up
like,
with Ant.
I told Craig, I said, wow. I said, Ant's kissy face mask is kind of sexy. And he just laughed. That's kind of hotter than it should have been for the moment. I was like, that's hilarious.
Oh, fun times.
You had, good old Raven's
Yeah.
cinematic masterpiece.
Cinematic masterpiece. Yeah, that's
Young up and comer.
Boobs
That was-
everywhere. I didn't see
that
that
was-
coming.
that was fun to see just come together bit by bit. You know, with it's like, okay, here's the art. Now I'm scripting it. Okay, here comes the color. All right, now it's getting lettered. Now it's and then once it all came together, it's like, oh, that is cool as hell.
I was telling the guys, I don't even know if you know the story, but like it was just the craziest shit to hit 225 with this, because when you very first sent that email and you're like, do a backup sometime, I was like, hell yes. But then I actually like said no because I knew I didn't have time and I'd do a shitty job. And then an entire year passed and I was like, oh no, I fucked up and missed my chance to do a sweet backup. And like out of the blue, you were like, so here's a script. And I was like, what?
There you go.
And it was just perfect timing because like I was taking a week off anyway. And so I was like, shit, yeah. This is like, let's knock this right the fuck out. So
I can do this in a
knocked it out.
week.
Yeah.
It's nice when people actually do this stuff.
Oh.
I can't tell you how many guys
Flake out.
It's just flake out. It's really kind of mind-boggling how much of it goes on. But if there's ever an artist that's pestering you for a script, the best thing you can do to get them off your back is to send them one. You will never hear from them again.
Well, even Gavin sent me a message. He's like, wow, this looks great. And I was like, oh, thanks, dude. I was like, I appreciate it. Like, I was super, nervous as shit. And, Gavin, Eric was like, you sure did that fast. And I was like, oh. I was like, I guess it was just that I did it at all.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's a few outstanding ones. Guys who've had scripts for literally years.
Wow.
Years.
Yeah.
I mean, and on top of it, Raven, you're doing, a page a day for your own webcomic, so it's not like you're sitting around doing nothing,
Luckily, thank God I was for this, because I was able to, pour, all my attention into it.
Yeah.
But,
And you got Mark Englert to do the colors. I haven't
that
seen his
worked-
name in a while, so
That worked out well. Yeah, it's just nice to have
he's living over in Poland, right?
Alum. Is he?
I think so. I'm pretty sure he is.
Wow.
And he's
Okay,
doing a
that's-
lot of art posters and stuff, like movie posters and things like that. Check out his
Wow.
Facebook or his Instagram, but he's got a pretty good following. He does a lot of Disney stuff and all that.
Oh, that is. Yeah, no, he does cool stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I was happy as a pig in shit, because you even, put, Farron Delgado on letters, and that was the dude that lettered the Freak Force.
Yes.
And I was like, oh! I was like,
Yeah,
I even
no,
got...
I love that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I was like, I
this
even
stuff
got
a
the
lot.
cool letterer.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I love Chris, but if situations were different, I like that style.
It's
that
good.
Artie Simek old
Yes.
comic book
Yes.
thing.
He does it so well.
And then having him letter Frank's story as well, and having that be like an old Marvel Monsters kind of thing, and it's just that lettering looks just right on that.
I'm so thankful that I didn't, because I asked you, I was like, well, do you want me to draw my own sound effects? And you're like, oh, go for it if you want, but it just won't match the letters. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I bet he knows. I was like, I'm just gonna not do them. And I am so thankful I didn't, because even the sound effects just kick the shit out of what I do. So I was like, oh man,
It worked out real well. And I'm happy that that it took up you know, the spatially worked out real well. It didn't seem like there was too many words. You left a lot of room in some of those panels. Like, I'll fill that up.
Yeah, if listeners don't know, and this completely blew my mind because like I have no idea how the hell you do it. It's like witchcraft, but like
Well,
Eric
I do that every time on Dragon. When I do Savage Dragon, that I'm not working from a script. There's no written plot, and I just start drawing the book. And if I come up with some great bit of dialogue, I'll write it on the margins on the of the page. But for the most part, there's nothing there.
mind blown.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly like when he sent me this script in my email, it was just suggestions of action. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'll just draw it. Like, and then what blew my mind is that like at the end, you had the strip end with conversation. I was like, how the hell is this going to work? Like, I have no idea. Like, I'm just drawing characters emoting and I have no idea what they're going to be saying. And then I got it back and I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, it's like he knew.
Well, it was crazy because, well, you know, I've told this in the previous FINcast, but Raven gifted me the pencils to this story. And so I've had it, how many months now, Raven? When did we meet up? Like a couple months ago. And so he said the same thing. Like, I have no idea what the dialogue's going to be. So I've been staring at these panels like, what are they talking about? What the hell are they going to say? You know, like, I mean, you can kind of imagine, but when I finally got it in my hands and read it, it was pretty freaking cool. So I am amazed how that works.
It's crazy how it comes together.
The old Marvel method. That was the way things were done. You know, when I started in comics, I wasn't working from full scripts from most of the writers that I worked with few exceptions. Mm-hmm. Most of them just wrote plot style, and in some cases would do things like pages 18 through 20, fight. You know, it's like, take it, kid. It's like, wow, man. Well, you're a lot more trusting than I am.
I remember when you shared the script for Supreme by Alan Moore that you did, and it's just amazing, like, the differences and how much effort you have to put into following the detail of that. It
is amazing, and it's a thing where I think non-artists, when they're thinking about, you know, the work that people put into doing comics, when they think of, well, this guy writes a full script and then this guy writes a plot, well, geez, that guy writing the plot's really taking the easy way out, and the artist has to do all the heavy lifting and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, having drawn from no plot and having drawn from an Alan Moore plot, I'll take no plot anyway, because that is a pain in the ass to
and it doesn't
read
leave you much
through all
wiggle
that
room.
stuff. No, there's no wriggle room, and it's so long you can't even figure out, what the hell am I drawing? What actually needs to be in this panel? There's so many words and so much information that needs to be ignored.
Yeah.
What am I doing here?
I'd kill myself. I mean, that's too much.
I was exhausted reading all of it.
Yeah, it was. It was just no fun.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like it took me 2 months to do that first issue with Alan's script.
Wow.
And 2 weeks to do the next one with mine. And done. Boom. Just blast that thing out. That was loads of fun.
So, this Monsters Revenge story by Frank Fosco, was that something that you wrote to the cover drawing he made, or was the story? It was.
Yeah, the cover came first.
Ah.
Awesome. More improv.
Yeah, and also I really like that 2 different colorists did it, and the monster looks different on the cover than he does on the inside.
Yeah.
I really like that, just because it's what Marvel used to do in old monster stories all the time. They would be colored differently on the cover.
That's funny. I didn't even think about it, but that's totally
Frank, if you're listening, you knocked this out of the ballpark.
I always enjoy seeing Frank's work in these books. He does a hell of a job.
It's got a fun little twist to it, too.
it was fun book all around. It actually it was trying to come up with the twist. It took me a lot longer than I wish it would have. Because I'd actually given him the script to the first, pretty much 2/3 of it, and then their last couple pages where I was just sitting there going, "What can it possibly mean? It's got to be something." But it all worked out.
And that might be one of the last times we see Malcolm as a cop, eh? If anything in the future issues.
Yeah. Well, we'll see
We'll
how
see.
this works out. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
I like that you threw an A in there, Craig.
Gotta
It might be the last
gotta
time,
get
eh?
used to Canadian dialogue there.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that.
Don't you know?
Sorry.
The story is so real. That is so
Yeah,
real.
that really is.
That is such a thing.
And you got to color your graphic fantasy
Yeah,
comic.
that was a real kick because it's awful. The actual artwork of that, it's kind of neat because one of the guys who worked on graphic fantasy had kept the the paper plates that were used to print the thing off of. So he's had these forever, and he just at one point just boxed up all this and just sent it to me. It was just like, here you go.
That's awesome.
And so in a few places there were actual decent copies of stuff. Like there was no way to reconstruct and recolor that cover based on the printed graphic fantasy, because the printed graphic fantasy looks terrible. It's all out of register, and the color is so dark that you can't really pick out what's the black line and what isn't. But with this stuff, it was so clean and perfect that I could just be like, oh, I can start over from scratch on the cover. And then there were a few pages in the interiors that looked pretty funky in print, but I could get to be slightly better in this. So it's like, all right, well, this looks as good as it's ever gonna look. The original art's all long gone by this point. So,
Whoa.
this is the best it can be.
Is that stuff that would have been lost in the fire?
Yeah.
I do get a kick out. I love this, like how a lot of your characters pretty much remain unchanged. I mean, obviously you draw a lot better, but the design of the characters, like Mace and some of the other is it Bloop? I forget some of the guys' names.
Yeah,
but
Bloop and Animal.
Animal,
Bloop
yeah.
was originally in my old comics was colored red, and I never gave instructions for the guys when they were using Bloop when it was at Image. I didn't tell whoever it was, Ruben Root or Steve Olaf or whatever color he was. So they just colored him as a water dude. And so when I was coloring this, it's like, well, I got to make him red because that's the way he's supposed to be.
Yeah. And is the Bronze Man a prototype for Overlord, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and that story was, I pretty much redrew that story
Right.
for issue 63.
Yes. Yeah. I think it.
60. Is it 63 or 62? I don't remember. I think it's 63.
People can wiki it.
Yeah. Yeah, 63. Because it covers Overlord and all those same characters in his hands.
Yeah.
It's really cool that all the way back then you were doing nudity.
Yeah.
I do remember like reading 63 before I knew it was graphic fantasy and being like, wow, some of these like poses look wonky. And then I remember like when I finally understood it was from, I don't know if it said it in the letters page or something, or I finally was able to compare it to the black and white graphic fantasy that was reprinted. I was like, oh, that makes sense now. Like,
Yeah.
The only panel that really stuck out to me is the one where he's breaking the fridge door. That one looks a little weird.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. I could just tell it wasn't like, you'd grown a lot since then. It was pretty
I
obvious.
thought the old school coloring though kind of
Oh,
did
yeah.
a hell of a lot to like make this look like, not, obviously blah blah blah, art skill, etc. But just as far as like how it looked, I think this kind of looks kick ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just with
No,
the color
I-
choices.
I saved my ass. Yeah, 19-year-old me would have given me a high five on that one. Yeah, because that was like, holy crap, man. That was some miserable stuff. But I did some fairly subtle little tweaks to some of the lettering stuff, which I had already relettered when it appeared in Graphic Fantasy. It had already been relettered because my initial lettering was so bad that I relettered the whole thing, and it was still bad. And because I had cut it out and pasted it in, some of the letters were just really close to the edges of the balloons and stuff. So it's like, all right, let me move around this stuff slightly and then fix some typos. And
So this
stuff
is
like
hand
that.
lettered by you mostly?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That whole job is entirely me from color on down. Although I did get help on flat, so thank you.
Is this issue going to be square bound or just like a regular?
Yeah, that'll be square bound.
It must be. All
Yeah,
those
it's another 100
100
pager, so I wanted a real spine on it and that whole thing.
Nice. And we have digital copies, so ours don't have the letters pages. Is there a lot of letters in this one?
It's 2 pages of letters. And since I run things in the order in which I receive them, there's not really like, hey, this is great. Augie DeBleek is back for this one letter page. He actually didn't make the cut because it just didn't work out. So I was like, oh well, it'll be in 226.
Nice.
So
you,
and I just heard the dinner bell. So
all right.
Sounds like we're at the end of the issue anyway.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time, though. You've got to be stoked the
you're
way
quite welcome.
that this came out. I know we're super excited about it and can't wait to see everyone else's reaction.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this one goes over.
This
Awesome.
entire arc has just been fucking balls to the
Yes.
wall insane.
Yes.
Like the last 3 issues have been killer, so stuck the landing big time.
Yes.
Yeah, I was very concerned, but and that's why I had to run over because there was no way that I could get everything in there that I wanted to get in there in 20 pages. It's just like there's just no way. It's not going to have the feel it needs to have. It's not going to feel as epic as it needs to be. There was really no way I could effectively make that work,
Yeah.
In some ways, this feels more of a payoff than 200 did.
Yeah.
It's been like a bigger deal.
Of course, you got the death of the major character. But so one thing before you go, how far are you on 226?
Not far enough. No, really, after this whole thing, it was just like, oh my god, I'm
You
exhausted.
need a break, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
25 big years.
Awesome issue.
Amazing.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. It's funny just because, like, these last 3 issues just, like, all together, just, I don't know, man. Just what the fuck? It's been, like, an on-fire year. The toys, this story arc, like, it's just been fucking bananas.
Yeah, Mighty Man, possible Freak Force coming up.
Mighty Man, Ant.
Yeah, Ant maybe.
It's kind of cool that she got in the book.
Yeah.
slightly.
Yeah. And will pretty likely show. I mean, there's still, like, a good, 5 months to this year, so.
I mean,
Didn't he post on Facebook that it was coming soon or something? But, I mean, who knows what that means.
yeah.
But he recently posted something new.
He, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, last time we had Eric on was the concluding of the Spawn Ant stuff.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
That's good. It's a good episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Such insight.
And I think, like, typical with these Eric episodes, we tend to go for a while. So maybe we do the letters and Finteresting Conversations as a separate Finisode.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is definitely your meat and potatoes like episode. Most people want to hear what Eric has to say.
Yeah.
And who the fuck are we?
We did
Rando internet people.
We did get a good amount of letters though, and I definitely want to go through them and discuss some of people's.
Yeah, we don't want to blow you guys off or do like just one. So we're going to dedicate a whole finisode to it, and
we'll have some fun because there was some good responses and stuff like that. So
maybe we can snag Zach Olkins.
Yeah,
that'd be a good idea. If we can
I think there was some requests for him to say stuff.
Beautiful.
Speaking to a microphone for long periods of time.
Haberdashery. Awesome. Thank you, fellas. Fucking wow. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm getting a little nostalgic. I'm just going to put it out there. Savage Dragon, 25 years, 225 issues.
Plus 3.
But, like, holy shit, dude. Like, what a treat.
Yeah.
Like, just to have this so much. Somebody, you know what? I will say this. Okay, I'll say this. Somebody told me, I was like, why don't you read more indie titles? And they gave an excuse that I was hard-pressed to fight against. They said they hated how many indie titles they would start that never finished.
That's not really true anymore. I mean, it is, but you got to be like, the stuff Image publishes has been consistent for like the last 5 to 10 years since Eric was president.
Well, not leveling a criticism at Image, leveling a criticism at indie guys. You know, things happen in people's lives. I've had friends, comic creators that, you know, they just fell out of love with their work and they just quit doing their book. And I guess that's what I'm touching on, is that it is, like, when I say, like, what a treat, like, how fucking awesome is it to have a book that you enjoy and the creator seems to enjoy with no end in sight.
Yeah.
Like,
well, Matt Wagner's Mage is back last week after like 10 years.
That's true.
No, I mean, we really are lucky. One thing I always like to bring up is, like, also just, you know, having a favorite form of entertainment, you know, being comic book media, having access to, you know, what other kind of entertainment media do you have access to creators like you do in comics? And especially Eric, who's willing to talk with us for over an hour whenever, you know, we have a podcast. Pretty much he's down. You know, we don't like to take too much of his time, so obviously you don't want to have him on every week, but I know every month, because it wouldn't be as special and you just don't want to kill his time. But you know, we've been doing this for 6 years now, and he's been down with at least every 5 months or so, hopping on and talking with us. It's just been a blast.
Yeah, it's been an amazing, like, just experience overall. I know that, again, this might seem extra cheesy and, like, emotional, but, like, thank you, bros, for bringing me in on the FINcast, just because I'm sure it contributed to my backup having a presence.
Yeah, it was all me.
But, yeah, no joke. Like, thanks again. Like, I'm sure that helped put me on Eric's radar. Like, you never know what did it, but I'm sure the FINcast didn't hurt.
Yeah.
And,
you know, even if one person listened or no people listened, it gives us a chance to shoot the shit about a comic that I like and get a chance to talk to some of these, you know, artists and writers that participate in it. And it's a good time. It really is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a blast.
All right.
Thanks
Down
again,
with the circle
everybody.
jerk.
Yeah.
Well, it's not too big of a circle, so we got to jerk as much as we can.
Everyone take their tampons out. We're done. There we go.
Oh, you really did.
Classy.
Classiest of all shows.
Savage FINcast, the show that puts the ass in class.
All right. With that, I think we should get going.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.